All right, guys. So I received a message from someone on YouTube the other day asking about some training and some advice about, finding out if they're getting better. So I figured I'd give my advice on that since we've been kind of on that topic for a little bit. Guys, my name is Bill Jones. I'm the head instructor of top-level martial arts in beautiful downtown Cuyahoga Falls. I am a black belt under Master Pedro Sauer, and you are watching Professor's Corner. So first things first, I'm kind of playing around with a new video camera here, so you kind of get this episode earlier than normal just because I wanted to kind of test it out. But so let me know, is the video quality good? Is the sound quality good? There's a couple different things I'm messing with here rather than just doing it on my phone. Anyway, the question basically said I've been training martial arts for a very long time. I'm in my 50s now. I took up jiu-jitsu about 3.5 years ago. Did the first almost a year, like 10 months to a year, as just private lessons. After about a year or so, I was promoted to blue belt. Been a blue belt for a year, and then I got my first stripe, and then now it's been like another year and a half, and I haven't had a stripe since. How can I know if I'm progressing? So yeah, it's funny because if you ask a lot of people, and I've got a few takes on this, but if you ask a lot of people like on forums and everything, if you ask that question, the first thing that people go to, because everybody wants to sound like a hard ass, is like, oh, stripes don't matter or belts don't matter, it doesn't matter. But like, let's be honest, it kind of matters. Like the fact that I say that I'm a black belt immediately in the entire Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community gives me respect. Like people will sit there and be like, oh, he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, he's done something. You know what I mean? So, like, even though stripes aren't technically like a new belt or anything, like, I can see why they matter to people. And I think most people like some sort of visual indication of their progress. I think that a lot of people, a lot of instructors especially, get busy and they don't think it matters as much as like for an adult as it would for a kid. But I mean, that just goes to how different people are motivated, right? Some people, there are those people out there that could never get a belt or a stripe or anything for their entire life. They just love the training, and that's all they would ever need, and they'd be 100% motivated all the time. I would say that person is very rare. That doesn't make them better. It doesn't make them skilled. It doesn't make them anything except for motivated in a different way. But their stripes are there because people need motivation. They need some sort of semblance of getting better, and that's really hard to do in jiu-jitsu, especially because you're all growing at the same rate, right? Like if you started jiu-jitsu with Johnny, and Johnny and you have been training pretty consistently for the whole time, you're probably just kind of neck and neck the whole time. You know each other's games really well. Like you're like, yeah, Johnny's that armbar guy. He's always trying to set up armbars from the guard. So like your armbar defense is on par, so it's hard for him to get you. And then but maybe you're the guy who likes to I don't know, sweep and then get mount, but like he's trained with you for so long that it's hard to tap him because his defense there is so solid. Like you both feel like you haven't gotten anywhere. You're like, man, my best moves aren't working anymore. So how do you determine your progress? There's a bunch of ways I think that you can do this. And some of them are right and wrong for different people. The first one I'm going to mention is something I don't do. I've never done it. It's just not who I am. I'm not organized in this way, but some people love it. So here's an idea, and that is journaling. You sit there, you write down kind of like what you did in class, what your goals are, and like every week you would write down like, here's a goal, here's what I'm going to work on, and then you work toward it that entire week or that entire month or that entire year, depending on what it is. I kind of do that. I don't ever write it down, if I'm being honest. I tried for a while, and it's just, I'm not the kind to sit there and write stuff down every week. It's just not me. But what I do is something similar. I say, okay, what do I want to get better at? In my case, it's Kimuras from the half guard. So, okay, I want to get better at Kimura from the half guard. So the first thing I did was I took a private lesson on Kimuras from the half guard. Kind of set that up, and I'm going to take a few more here, but that'll play into the learning. And I just put myself in a situation where I can try Kimura from the half guard over and over and over again. With that said, I think that your skill level determines where you should start. We were in a competition class last night, and at the end of it, one of my blue belts asked, "Hey man, how do I know I'm getting better? What can I do to like feel that progress better?" And I really think that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has a bad habit, most of us. Open mat hits, and what's the first thing you do? You high five, you fist bump, and you go, right? And you're just trying to win. But if you want to work, let's say, a triangle choke from the guard. Okay, you set up a triangle choke, you miss it, you get your guard passed, you spend the next 4.5 minutes in bottom side control or, barely getting back to guard or half guard or whatever, and you never get a chance to do it again. And then the bell rings, you go to the next training partner, and it happens again. So maybe in a 1 hour of open mat, and I don't think most people do it for an hour, but maybe in 5, 6, 7 matches, you get to try your triangle choke like 4 or 5 times, and that's it. You're not going to get better at it that way. So that's not going to help you. So you need to change the way you train when you're training for specific growth. So one of the things that I learned this from actually wrestling, but if you look at any sport, no sport actually plays the sport in practice, right? Like they don't play the whole game in practice. I played football, so like when I played football, if we knew we had a team that had the tendency to pass and have certain setups, the scout team, which is what I was always on because I wasn't good at football. I was on the team, but I wasn't good. The scout team would mimic what the what the opposing team was going to do. Based on film and everything that we had seen, would mimic that, and then the first team would play against that. But you'd do it over and over and over again. You wouldn't play like a full game. You'd play that scenario over and over and over again. And you might throw a little monkey wrench in there. We might play that exact scenario so they know exactly what they're going to get, followed by a different scenario, followed by that one that they were working on again, because now they've had to work exactly what they were expecting. Oh, little monkey wrench, back to what we were expecting, and they have to learn to recognize that on the fly. And same thing in like wrestling. Like wrestling practices at high levels, you don't go in there and like do matches in wrestling. Like you go in and you play scenarios. We're going to start in referee's position with these grips. We're going to start in a single leg. Don't get taken down. You finish the single leg. You're going to start in all these situations, and that's a much more powerful way to train. And it's what I recommend to like 99% of you out there. And there's more than just the benefit of getting in that situation. You're less likely to get hurt. You're less likely to go home sore every day because you're in these specific scenarios. And now imagine this: you go in open mat, and you say to your buddy, "Hey man, I only want to try to submit you from the guard today. Will you do me a favor? You only try to pass my guard, or whatever. And if you pass my guard, we stop. We start again." And I'm only trying to submit you or sweep you from my guard. And now, because you're working your triangle, you can work on multiple triangle setups and get rep after rep after rep. At 100%, it's still rolling. They're still trying not to get tapped. But like, you don't have to wait another 20 minutes to get in that scenario again. You can go right back to it and have immediate learning. And then you can set it up a little bit. Be like, okay, I set it up. Let's use a basic triangle setup where you're using like a scissor sweep. You bring the knee over and pop up to the triangle, and maybe that's the one you're trying to hit. So you try it, it doesn't work for you, you get past. You're like, okay, I got to trick him a little more. So then maybe you go to like you take a cross grip, go to a hip bump sweep, come back down, switch it off, then immediately go up, and you've confused their brain so they didn't recognize it. But you can start learning your combinations that way. You can start building traps and everything for them, because you have the opportunity to do it over and over and over again. And maybe you even say, hey, you know what? I'll do 2.5, 3 minutes on the bottom, and then you do 2.5, 3 minutes on the bottom, and you just keep taking turns back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Guys, your guard will get killer that way. Your side control escapes will get killer that way. Maybe that's all you're working on, is side control escapes, and that's all you want to do. And you're like, hey, every time I escape side control, we stop and we start again. Or maybe you have a specific thing about it. Every time I escape side control to your back, we stop and start again. If I don't take your back off of it, it doesn't count. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this type of training. and it will allow you to see your progress much faster. And moreover, it's going to allow you to actually progress much faster. So that's really important, is how you do your training. And of course, every once in a while, you want to just roll a full match. I get it. Last night we in my competition class is the first time in probably 7 weeks that we rolled just a bunch of 5-minute matches. We did 13 minutes of takedown work, just like King of the Hill takedown, and then it was 5-minute matches on, and we did 10 or 11 of them. However long it took to to get through the time. But most of the time, it's like we work these options, and then we drill that specific position. If we had worked triangle escapes, then guess where everybody's starting in our drills? Triangle. 2 minutes. Go. Don't get tapped. They start with a triangle on. You don't get tapped. That's how you get better at those things. So that's my best advice for you as far as wanting to see your progress. Now, coming back to stripes, which was the original question. I don't see stripes. I don't know what to do. Different instructors do things differently. In my school, for blue belt and above, the way our stripes work is you have to have a minimum of 180 days, i.e. 6 months between stripes, and a minimum of 100 classes. So, and that's class work, not open mat work. So it takes a long time, but even there, you're looking at 8 months or so between stripes, 2.5 to 3 years between belts. And if you do the math, it takes about 1.5 years to get to your blue belt, and then another 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years per belt. It takes about 10 years to get to black. But not every instructor does it like I do. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Everybody has their way that works for them. But I think the best thing to do is talk to your instructor and say, hey, what do I need to do to progress? Don't even mention the stripe. Just be like, I'm trying to get better. What do I need to do to progress in jiu-jitsu? What are you noticing? What technique can I work on? And then they're going to probably have something in mind, like, oh yeah, you know what? With you specifically, you move well, because you always hear that, right? No, you're moving good, and be like, yeah, you say that, but is there a move? If you had to fix me, if there's one thing that you think I could improve on right now, what would it be? Where should I focus my time? And then actually do that. Let them see that you're taking a concerted effort toward listening to what they say. That's my best advice for you guys. So if you have any questions on that, please put it below. I'm always interested in hearing your comments. I tried to reply to everybody, and I really appreciate it. It helps the channel a lot, helps me a lot. So if you need anything, let me know. I've got to go test some kids now. See you later.